Hello, welcome to Local Anaesthetic Podcast, your regular injection of strange, weird, bizarre news locally, as is our tradition, and from around the world. Episode 404, Rob, so we're hoping no technical issues, because 404 in computer lingo normally means an error. How are you? You said you're a bit peaky this morning.
Yeah, I'm alright. I think, I'm a bit under the weather, haven't slept particularly well. Do you know what, Alex? I welcome autumn because summer's been such a washout. I hate this inconsistency. You know, when you think about last summer and how beautiful it was, endless days of sunshine, and now it's just, you go out. Like yesterday, I went out in the sun and came home in a thunderstorm. You just can't dress for it, Alex. I think that's what's taking its toll.
I don't want to talk about the weather, Rob.
Right, okay, fine. Whatever.
Is there any news from our listeners? Anything more interesting than that?
I don't believe so, no.
Right, well then let's get on with it, because last week, Rob, we talked about big cats.
Yes.
And we did WhatsApp each other messaging services are available, about big cats in the week, because of course, as we were there mocking and laughing, as we normally do, about a story we had about a blurry picture of a big cat, the clearest ever photo of a big cat roaming Britain was discovered, and I've got the Daily Telegraph version of it. I am looking at what looks like a sort of jaguar-type creature sitting in a field. How do we know that was taken in Britain, though, by the way? Couldn't that just be a picture of one in the savannah somewhere, and then they just they say, yeah, I took that in Kent.
I mean, it's more than possible. I mean, he might have recently visited a safari park for all we know. But strangely, this does actually seem like conclusive proof.
Does it? No, hang on. But is it conclusive? That's what I'm saying.
Well, okay. I mean,
it's an image found among decades-old male. A muscular cat with the appearance of a panther, is seen lying among grass and scrub. It's an undated photograph included in a new Amazon Prime documentary. We'll be watching that, titled Panthera Britannia Declassified, which, by the way, Panthera Britannia should be a new heavy metal rock band.
They absolutely should. I mean, Alex, when I say it's not conclusive proof, but I'm just thinking, compared to the recent, we've had a recent story from John Mooner, and he's still using the same camera he was using 5 years ago and still can't get a clear shot. So if you just take this on face value, this is a jaguar. There's no disputing that. I mean, as you rightly say, you could dispute it was taken in this country. So, I mean, as you rightly say, I think the documentary will be compulsive viewing.
What I would say is that to me, I look at that and see something that looks slightly doctored to me. That's what I think.
Right, okay.
But let's just have a bit of a history.
It was a man with the head of a cat.
These are the top sort of 10 instances of the history of big cats in the UK. Number 10, locals reported a lynx-like creature lurking in a field in Great Alney, Warwickshire in November 2016. I believe we covered that, Rob. A Yorkshire factory worker, Lee Clifford, spotted and captured an image of a wild puma in the countryside near Hull, 2013. I believe we covered that.
I think we did cover that,
Local woman was startled after mistaking a puma-sized cat for a deer in a field close to Pencaitland, Scotland in August 2022. We didn't cover that. It sounds like we should have. Pensioner spotted a big cat with leopard-like markings in her garden in Broomfield, Essex, February 2016. It sounds like we could have covered that.
I think we did cover that, yeah. That sounds familiar.
A Greater Manchester resident reported a black panther running and hunting in a field off Bury New Road in 2016. That's your wife's neck of the woods, Rob.
I don't think we covered that, though. I don't seem to remember that one.
Father and 11-year-old son were chased while cycling through Black Car Plantation on Warning Tongue Lane in Yorkshire by a muscular big black cat in October 2022. Rob, right now, I think we need to look that up because that sounds absolutely astonishing. Just give me 1 second and I'll return to that.
Also, is a muscular big black cat a good episode title?
Well, we might have some more. Local resident reported a panther-like animal larger than a Labrador roaming around a barley field in Silsoe, Bedford in August 2016. That sounds familiar. Number 3, local resident reported 2 large cat-like animals standing over the body of his chicken in his garden in Nisterton, Nottinghamshire in July 2022. I don't remember that, Rob.
No.
Last 2. Number 2, John Parkinson discovered a 5-inch paw print the same width and shape as a puma's paw in Trevisco Pit, Cornwall in October 2016. And number 1, the most recent sighting, Rob. Startled dog walker reported a jet black panther on the footpath between Seagull Tyrramorpha and Brickfield Pond in Wales at 7 p.m, August 22, 2022, Rob. What do you have to say to that, Rob? Because I'm saying to you, there is no smoke without fire. How do you explain this?
Well, first of all, Alex, that's not a comprehensive list. I mean, first of all, there's no mention of the Sydenham big cat in the slightest. No. And the numerous sightings and also
my sighting of a big cat, of course.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I've forgotten about that. So hang on. You've spotted a big cat and a UFO?
And Elvis.
Right. Any ghosts?
No. Well,
okay.
No.
Okay, right. Fair enough. Sound like you were about to make one up.
Well, no, there is a sort of go, but it's only, but I do, but that I'm convinced was my imagination. I was a young child, so it's not. The other ones were in adult life. The big cat in Sydenham Woods was a real thing. I turned around and there was something in there, Rob.
Well, Alex, going back to the stories and maybe also your story, all I can say is that these people are charlatans who are just trying to, they're just in it for the money generated from local news. Let's
go back to October 2022, Rob, then, and hear this story, which I found from the Yorkshire Post.
Great.
By Darren Burke. The 14th of October 2022, walkers stunned as big cat spotted prowling Yorkshire fields. 2 female walkers were left stunned after spotting a mysterious animal prowling fields in Yorkshire in the latest big cat sighting in the area. The friends, Rob, were walking near Sutton Cum Lound, and cum is spelt C-U-M.
Yeah.
Sutton Cum Lound. They should change that to Sutton Cum Loud, south of Bawtry, near Doncaster, on Wednesday afternoon when they spotted the still black animal across the fields. One of the pair said, "We're walking." So, Rob, I am more inclined to trust women than men. I don't know why, but I don't think that women make up this kind of shit as much as men do.
No, I would agree with that, yep.
We were walking around 6 p.m. along the side of a field behind the church at Sutton Cum Lound when we noticed a very still black animal shape standing across the field to the front of the woodland. We stopped to look, puzzling over what it was, when it suddenly coiled round and ran, then sprang into the woods, jumping high over an obstacle in its way. We both felt sure it was a large cat-like creature, as its shape and movement was nothing like a dog or deer. It is a popular area for dog walkers as there's a footpath linking Sutton Cum Lound to Daneshill Country Park. We didn't get pictures, it was too quick and too far. In May this year, 11-year-old Harry Abonyi was cycling in woods with Dad Martin when a large mystery animal began giving chase to the youngster. The father and son were biking through Black Car Plantation on Warning Tongue Lane near Cantley and Branton when they were approached by the animal. Martin said, "As we rounded a corner, I saw out the corner of my eye a large black animal sprinting out from the cover of the woods, heading directly for my son, running diagonally to head him off." Now, Rob, in June, a woman said she'd spotted a big cat the size of a Great Dane while walking in Barnby Dun. And in August 2021, a female dog walker reported seeing a beast prowling in fields near Thorne, while another reported seeing a big black cat while driving off the M18 onto the M180, near to Thorne Golf Course. That's very specific.
Yeah, I mean, they're all very specific. That's why I'm more inclined to think they're liars.
And in 2019, Rob, a mum doesn't lie. Mum Jessica Clark spotted a huge 5-foot black cat in fields near to the city's Echo Power Stadium. When I realised what I'd seen, I just started panicking. It was massive, very muscular, and definitely a big cat. It was frightening to see something like that up close. And just finally, in January 2017, Alan Tomlinson said he'd seen a panther near to the junction... Alan Tomlinson said he'd seen a panther near to Junction 1 on the M180 close to Doncaster Services.
It wasn't driving, was it? Is that how you spotted it? I mean, what?
I'm sensing, Rob, that you have big cat fatigue, so I'm going to move on to a bit of a follow-up story.
Right, great.
Can you remind listeners about that website, honey trap website? I think it's called rentahitman.com. Can you remind listeners about that? I'll let you sort of tee this story up.
Oh, I'll see if I can remember now. I think it was set up by the FBI. No, it was. No, hang on. Let's go. It wasn't set up by the FBI. It was set up as, I think, as a parody website. It was a joke website, which somehow then fell into the hands of the FBI. And the idea was that anyone looking to, as the name suggests, hire a hitman could enter their details. There's some sort of like hitman brokering service where, it puts you in contacts, a lot like Check a Trade. You can check hitmen in your area, look at their reviews, their kill history, see if their prices are competitive, that kind of thing.
Thank you, Rob. That was much better than I could have done. So
great.
And we have read stories out, bizarre stories, haven't we, where they have gotten idiots to try and literally rent a hitman to kill their partner. To do it right.
Correct.
Well, Rob, this is going to take a very dark turn now. This was published July 20th, 2023, so a little while back. No journalist listed. Clickorlando.com. A Florida mother tried to hire a hitman to kill her 3-year-old son, police say. She's been arrested.
What?
Yeah, an 18-year-old Miami woman is accused of trying to hire a hitman to kill her son. The woman appeared before Miami-Dade County Judge Wednesday following her arrest on charges of solicitation of murder and unlawful use of a communications device. The woman visited parody hit-for-hire website intended to assist law enforcement in an attempt to have the boy, in her words, taken away, far, far away, and possibly be killed, but as soon as possible. She was willing to pay $3,000.
That's not a lot.
The woman listed wanting, in quotes, to get something done once and for all as the reason for hiring a hitman. Police said she provided an address where the boy lives with his grandmother, a recent photo of him, her phone number. A man who runs the website contacted Miami-Dade police, and detectives tracked down the woman on Tuesday using the IP address and phone number provided. The Associated Press is not naming the woman to protect the child's identity. Detectives spoke with the boy's grandmother, who informed them that the daughter moved out in May. She said the boy still lived with her and that the mother would FaceTime the child regularly. The grandmother told detectives she took photos of the boy, which was posted on the Hitman website on Monday, and sent it to her daughter. The child's mother was arrested later Tuesday at her father's house. Anyway, I mean, look, it just goes on. What a horror!
That's really dark.
Yeah, the darkest that we get. Let's be honest.
I mean, everyone knows. I mean, I have a toddler, and we know that. Let's be honest. Toddlers can be dicks. At times, they could be, ghosting you, or what's the word I'm looking at? Not ghost. I didn't mean ghosting. What do I mean? Gaslighting. That's the word I was looking for. But
are you saying you're being gaslit by Lyra?
Constantly, yeah. Even possibly now.
Can you give some examples?
Well, like I'll okay. So she's holding like one of her bottles of water, and I'll say to her, can you drink your water? And she says, I don't have any water. And then she asks for more water. It's like, it's literally in your hand. And she'll say, no, it's not. And I point it out to her, and then she'll still ask for more water. It's an abusive relationship, Alex. I'm aware of this.
Let's go to LGBTQ Nation, Rob. First time we've...
I was about to say, that's a new publication.
Yeah, and we're going to cover this story, Rob. When we started this podcast, Rob, it was really... The idea wasn't it, to have a bit of escapism by covering those sort of strange, mildly comical stories that you see in local newspapers. We didn't really know what was going to happen to the world, Rob. We didn't know that I'd be reading out stories like this by Daniel Villarreal from Sunday, August the 20th, 2023. Headline, Putin's advisor says United States is using brainwashing to make gay Ukrainian super soldiers.
Okay. Now, is this how far we've actually fallen? Okay.
Well, this isn't... Yeah.
Why does it matter if they're gay or not? Just out of interest. Does that...
No, you will understand why. An advisor to Russian President Vladimir Putin has claimed that Ukraine's military will become unified through gay sex like the Greek Spartans. While the comment may seem bizarre, it's the latest example of Russian authorities using anti-LGBTQ plus nationalist sentiment to justify its unprovoked war against Ukraine. Military theorists and historians, so this is, he said this on Russian TV. So it was Sergei Markov, who's not, I've heard of him.
Yeah, I've heard of him as well.
You're right. Military theorists and historians know which army in Greece was the strongest, remember? The Spartans. They were united by a homosexual brotherhood. They were all homos. They were the politics of their leadership. I think they are planning the same for Ukraine's armed forces. I apologise for the language there. It's not mine. It is Sergei Markov. Markov said the US and Ukraine will use neuro-linguistic programming and other brainwashing techniques to turn Ukrainian soldiers gay against their will. In reality, there's no evidence that psychological
works.
No, there's no evidence, we should say, that psychological methods can change a person's sexual orientation. This would fall under the bracket of paranoia, wouldn't it, Rob?
I was going to go for bullshit, personally.
Oh, Rob. They have an artificial... This is his words. They have... Rob, can you just wake up? Because you've got the opportunity to learn here. Okay. They have an artificial political science fascism created by British and American political technologists. They will turn them into zombies, into cult members. I think they will force them to become homosexuals. So bearing in mind, Rob, you and I have a pretty sort of close-up look in many ways of our British political class. The idea that the likes of Nadine Dorris, now resigned, or Jacob Rees-Mogg could be involved in some plot to somehow zombify the Ukrainian soldiers. I don't know. It seems far-fetched. Can I just also say, Rob, that his choice of words, an artificial political science fascism, it needs to be in an episode title somewhere. I don't know what that is, but it's absolutely brilliant.
That just feels like, it generally feels like a collection of words. It doesn't, an absolute nonsense.
Word salad, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's finish his quote, Rob, so I can hand over to you. These renewed troops of Ukraine's armed forces, zombified and unified through gay sex, along with cult members ready to sacrifice themselves. This is what they're preparing us for, Rob. Laugh away. In spring 2025. And when you see crazed zombie Ukrainian army hordes, because remember, the Ukrainians are Nazis as well, according to Putin, unified through gay sex. So we're talking gay Nazi Ukrainian zombie super soldiers rampaging, Rob, God knows, across the world. We could be next.
Well, I'm quite surprised, Alex, because if you go back to the Second World War, usually the Nazis were kind of against homosexuality. So it's good to know that they're actually becoming more progressive.
There is some historical evidence to suggest that the Spartans of ancient Greece may have encouraged homosexual activity as a way to encourage soldiers to stay in the military and fight for their partners' lives. Didn't know that. The evidence also suggests that Spartan soldiers were expected to age out of such activities after completing a certain stage of their military training. The most famous gay military force in ancient Greece was actually not Spartan, but the Sacred Band of Thebes, an elite military force comprised of 150 gay or bisexual couples that defeated the Spartans and murdered both Spartan kings in a single campaign. Regardless, Markov's comments may be less interested in historical accuracy and more interested in inspiring anti-LGBTQ+ disgust in Russian viewers against Ukraine and its ally, the United States. Bear in mind that Putin said in October 2022 that the war against Ukraine was necessary because, in quotes, the US wants to push gender perversions on Russian school children. Yeah.
Right. Fun.
He said Western countries spit on the natural right of billions of people, most of humanity, to freedom and justice, to determine their own future on their own. Now they have completely moved to a radical denial of norms, religion and family. And Putin has claimed the US has used NATO in order to contain Russia. And he says that Ukraine's possible entry into NATO would undermine Russia's security. You know all this.
Yeah.
It's been over 540 days, Rob, since Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24th. 2022, Rob. And of course, we hear that this year our energy bills in winter will be practically the same as they were last year, because even though the energy price cap has dropped, Rob, government support has been taken away and the standing charges for us all have been increased dramatically by the energy companies.
Cunts.
Okay, Rob. After that really enjoyable opening 18 minutes or so, we now hand over to you. I'm done.
Okay, so first story is from the Daily Mail. I apologise.
Yay!
But this is a good story. It's from the 7th of August by Joanna Riley. Joanna, that's an interesting name. Anyway.
Sorry, you've never heard of the name Joanna?
No, Joanna.
Yeah, Joanna, and Joe is for short. You used to go to a restaurant called Joanna's. When you would treat Sarah once every 5 years to a meal out, you would take her to Joanna's.
Which is closed down, I was very sad to read the other week.
Right, because you stopped going there.
Maybe. No, apparently because of the harsh economic conditions as a result of Brexit, the pandemic.
Rob, you've piqued my curiosity. What were you reading that you could have come across that this very niche restaurant, or just particular restaurant in Crystal Palace has closed down? Were you catching up on Crystal Palace local news?
No. It was in. Do you know the Londonist website?
No.
Oh, it's well worth a read, Londonist. Yeah, it covers. We should have a look. I get their newsletter every week, and it's one of the articles in there. Because it was a staple of Crystal Palace. It was a very well-known restaurant.
It was. It's sad.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll become a Coral or a bet through, one of those betting shops.
Yeah, and we can only hope.
Because we don't really have enough of those.
No, there's quite a few in Crystal Palace, sadly. Anyway, so right, bear with this headline. It's lengthy, as always is with the Daily Mail for some reason. I'm addicted to sniffing tuna and drinking the juice straight out of the can. It may look weird to other people, but I think it's perfectly fine.
Right. I, as you know, Rob, am very partial to like a tuna sandwich for lunch.
Correct, yes.
But the one thing I don't enjoy is when I open the tins of tuna and there is that initial smell and you've got to get rid of the brine. I wouldn't really want to drink that or sniff the tuna. Well, this person is male.
He is male, right. Yes, correct. Strap in, Alex. So a US man is addicted to smelling, eating, and sipping tins of tuna that he consumes a whopping 15 cans every week.
That's mercury poisoning. Can I just ask you, Rob, is this a sexual thing?
No, I don't think it is. I can understand why you think that.
Because otherwise he's got a pretty continuous stream if he applies himself of tuna mayonnaise mix.
Oh God! Which is a very, very niche OnlyFans channel.
Rob's not feeling well, by the way. So
no. So Tuna Tyler from Lawrence in Kansas appeared on the episode of My Strange Addiction.
Whoa! You just called him Tuna Tyler.
Yes, that's how he refers to himself.
What? Okay,
Tuna Tyler, yeah.
Because I thought, what a coincidence if that was actually his name. But his parents had sort of doomed him to this life. Okay. That's
in the article. So a clip uploaded onto the TLC's YouTube channel explored Tyler's addiction, documenting how and why he prioritises the canned food in his day-to-day life.
It's the why I want to know more.
So according to the tuna lover, ever since he was a child, he's preferred fish to any other food type, even requesting cans of tuna as Easter and Christmas gifts over toys and chocolate.
This is weird, right? I've come across some weird stuff, but to be a child and say, no, I want a tin of tuna. Wow. It must be the body is craving something that's in tuna, mercury.
I think so. But yeah, it might be. Just imagine on Easter Day, all the other kids are tucking into their Easter eggs, ripping the foil off their beautifully crafted Easter egg, and there's this guy with his tin opener, cracking open another tin of tuna.
I felt when you were describing Easter eggs there, you did it in a lot of detail, and I felt there was a slight dig at me there about the beautifully crafted Easter egg that you'd given me that I never ate, and I said to you, I apologise. If I could
it's in the past, Alex.
Okay.
It's in the past. Not forgotten, but it's in the past. Now, the next sentence does sound like it could be sexual. Describing why he has a particular love of tuna, he cited its smell, texture, sweetness, dryness, and wetness. Which... You can't say wetness and dryness in the same sentence.
I kind of understand what he means to a degree, but he's smearing this over himself, Rob. I mean, don't deny it.
Well, I imagine it was like an American Pie thing,
oh, God.
If you get what I mean. So, in the 3-minute video, which begins with a montage of farm shots from Tyler's hometown of Lawrence, before he introduces himself, "My name is Tyler. I'm from Lawrence, Kansas, which is in the middle of nowhere. It's farm and country stuff. It's very, very quiet. Life in Lawrence is very boring." The scene then transitions to Silas sitting in a quiet coffee shop as a waitress serves him a hot beverage. But before taking a sip of his freshly made drink, Tyler whips out
a tin of tuna into his face.
Tyler whips out a small can of tuna out of his pocket, opens it, and inhales deeply whilst closing his eyes.
But this is sexual.
I don't know what it is. And apparently in this clip, the waitress stands awkwardly as he said, "Yep, another nice way to start the day."
Can I just say, Rob, I don't want to get... If let's say he did have a female partner, right? And they're going out one night for dinner and, and they're in the car and I don't know, he reaches over, gives a peck on the cheek and goes, "Oh, you smell lovely tonight." Inhales her perfume or whatever. She's always going to feel like you're saying, "I smell a fish," because I know that's what you like.
Yes, it is a good it's a good point, Alex. Especially, yeah. But also, I think, also at the end of the night when, maybe especially if he's on a first date and they're embracing, and she says, is that a tin of tuna in your pocket, or are you pleased to see me? And he pulls out a tin of tuna. I mean, it's going to be very disappointing, Alex.
Yeah.
Alluding to his 24-hour habit, Tyler says, I love smelling tuna every day, all the time, night, any day, every day.
Why are you publicising this?
Well, it's a TV show, isn't it?
Oh, right, okay.
It's because he's on this TV show about strange addictions, and apparently some of the other people that have appeared on this show have been outed as frauds.
Can I tell you a story? I do really like, as Rob will tell you, a really nice tuna sandwich, right? I'll have tuna mayonnaise mix sort of thing. I love it, right? But I did once conclude that maybe I was eating too much of it, and I tried to find an alternative, and I tried various alternatives. Like you can buy like tinned salmon and things like that.
Yes.
And they were genuinely revolting, all these other tinned fishes. Really unpleasant.
Yeah, no, it is. I think tuna does tend to keep better, I think. See, what I love about tuna's smell is definitely the fish.
I wasn't eating off tinned salmon. It's not about it keeping better. It's just
no, but I think it does. I think it does keep. Yeah, I wasn't, Alex. I wasn't alluding to the fact you were eating mouldy fish. I mean, you may have been. I don't know. But as you worked on a fish character, I would have thought you'd had some sort of underhand fish exchange system.
Underhand fish exchange system is a very good episode title, Rob, that you've just come up with completely organically. I love that.
Yeah. Listeners, I think probably know, we've said it before, they used to work on Waitrose fish character. That's not a big secret as far as I'm aware. So Tyler goes on to say, what I love about the tuna smell is definitely the fish, the light aroma with a little bit of sweetness. What I love about the taste is the texture of it. I like it not too wet, but not too dry. Does make it make sense. I like it not too wet, but not too dry. That doesn't make any sense. You want to know what his mum says about all of it?
Hang on. She doesn't know where she went wrong. He's dead to her.
No, she seems very supportive.
Or I ate a lot of tuna. I ate a copious amount of tuna during my pregnancy.
No, there's nothing like that. So when he was little, and most kids during Easter wanted chocolate in their baskets, we put tuna and sardines because he liked that. But I didn't think it would turn into where he was smelling it and becoming addicted to it. So if in case anyone, as we've already said, he eats about 15 cans a week. But apparently, according to experts, he could be harming himself because of the omega and the iodine. And well, the omega's always good for you, but the iodine not so much. And that's the end of the article. It doesn't really go into anything else, but that's the end of it. But yeah, I mean, if you want to go and find the clip on YouTube of a man smelling a can of tuna, you go ahead. My second story is from the Metro by Jordan King, also from the 7th of August. The headline is, man stuffs 14 snakes into his pockets to try and smuggle them through customs.
We've had stories like this over the years, Rob. That's another one. If we were doing our database, that's one I often forget. We've had sort of people smuggling things through customs stories.
Yes, yeah. So a man tried to smuggle 14 live snakes through a Chinese border by stuffing the reptiles into his pockets. He was caught at the Fushan port, an entry on the border between mainland China and Hong Kong in Shenzhen, southeastern China.
What is what is so urgent and important that you would risk? Do you know what I mean? I mean, I get the drug smuggling and the huge financial payoff of that potentially, or that you're being exploited as some sort of drug mule against your will. I understand all that, but what is the importance of they're just snakes?
I mean, just do what that woman did with her emotional support hamster and just try and flush it down the toilet.
Oh yeah.
Also,
she didn't. Hang on a minute, Rob. That doesn't make sense. She flushed the hamster down the toilet because they prevented her from taking on board the flight, and so she felt she had no other recourse but to kill it. Him flushing them down the toilet isn't going to help him in the exportation of said snakes.
Good point. But also, what I love about this man is he doesn't seem to have realised that he must have known these snakes were illegal to smuggle, but he doesn't seem to have made any sort of prior plans to try and smuggle them through, and literally panicked when he got to the airport. So apparently when they examined his belongings, they ended up finding 14 snakes wrapped in cotton socks and stockings.
Sexual, Rob.
Maybe. Footage shows the passenger dressed in black clothing and a white cap, nervously checking his pockets while standing at the the checkpoint. The clip then cuts to border staff handling the socks with the snakes dropping out. The reptiles were placed inside plastic containers and handed over to authorities. Now, 3 of the serpents were boar pythons, also known as royal pythons, which are an African species listed as near threatened on the International Union for Conservation. On the International Union for Conservation of Nature's Red List. They need to shorten that down. And then the article just finishes very abruptly by saying it's not clear whether the man was charged with anything, because apparently it's perfectly fine just to put to put snakes in your pocket on an airplane.
I think a slap on the wrist, Rob, would be sufficient. A slap on the wrist and don't do it again.
Yeah, good point.
Right, Rob. Before we get to listener story, let's just also update. There have been quite a few sort of small stories knocking about that are too small to kind of go into detail over, but are really worth mentioning. This is from CNN Travel, although I get why it's in the travel section, but also it would just warrant being in the news section. It's by Joseph Atterman from Wednesday, 16th of 2023. 2 intoxicated US tourists trapped overnight up the Eiffel Tower. Not a euphemism.
Right. Okay.
Two American men were discovered, Rob, on Monday after spending a drunken night up the Eiffel Tower. Do you think,
Alex, we've all spent a drunken night at the Eiffel Tower, if you get my meaning?
Yeah, the 2 men who'd Sunday evening tickets for Paris's famous Iron Tower were allegedly trapped there due to their excessive alcohol consumption. You don't normally associate this with American tourists. To me, sort of loutish behaviour is more of a British thing, but
oh yeah, they can be quite extrovert and maybe slightly loud. But yeah, not drunk behaviour. You're right, Alex. Here's a question: have you ever been at the Eiffel Tower?
I haven't.
Oh,
okay.
More than once.
Okay,
not to brag.
To me, I'm not. Yeah, to me, the Eiffel Tower is a distant comparison to the Crystal Palace Tower.
I mean, famously, Alex, you can't go to the Crystal Palace Tower. Well, you can, but there's a good chance that you might get arrested. Whereas the Eiffel Tower, they just charge you an exorbitant entry fee.
The tourists were found asleep early on Monday morning by Eiffel Tower security staff doing their rounds ahead of the monument's opening. The tourists were then quickly removed and handed over to Paris police. They're going to press charges for the intrusion. Wow.
Sure.
But they did admit that the 2 men presented no threat. As no damage was found, the fine for trespassing on a historic or cultural site was dismissed. So the tower opened late on Monday because of the men's overnight stay. Just a small story there, which I wanted to cover. Another very short story from the Messenger News, whose strapline is, "It's time to break the news." Okay.
Sorry, Alex, is that a legitimate news source?
Yeah, it is. This is by Elizabeth Urban. From the 23rd of August. A Georgia man arrested for stealing neighbour's entire front porch. Yeah. I'm not really going to go into detail on that. It is what it said. He walked past several no trespassing signs and took the porch, which was not attached to a home at the time, but it did cost $3,000, and he took it, Rob. Yeah. And we're going to finish with Fox 5 DC for the Washington DC area. It's by Sierra Fox, so I mean, she was destined surely to work for Fox. August the 23rd, 2023. Bird bandit, suspect accompanied by 3 parrot robs man at knife point in Fairfax County.
Right. I mean, I think that would be intimidating if there's a man. Also, parrots are bigger than you think they are. So right. I can imagine.
I never thought I'd hear that phrase on this podcast. Fairfax County police are working to identify a man accused of robbing a store with some interesting companions 3 parrots. According to Fairfax County Police, at around 8 a.m. on August 22nd, so basically pulled a knife near the McDonald's, a lot of things seem to happen around McDonald's, in the Seven Corners area at 6165 Arlington Boulevard and took off with an undisclosed amount of money. He was described as an Hispanic man between 28 and 32 with tattoos, and when they reviewed surveillance video from the 7-Eleven, another hotspot, on Patrick Henry Drive, it showed the suspect wearing a black cowboy hat with 2 parrots on top, a patterned shirt and a third parrot on his shoulder, and he left the area up in a blue Ford SUV. So just a call out really to any of our American listeners, if you did see this man with the parrots, please call 703-256-8035 or submit an anonymous tip online. If you go to Fox 5DC, there is a link to where you can be an anonymous rat. Rob, you seem to have frozen. Are you still there, my friend? Hello, Rob. Rob has left the meeting. We're in the middle of that story, listeners. Rob exited, almost as if he knows something about this story, or maybe he's been hit by a meteor. Trying to think of the kind of things which would suddenly cut off your internet signal. Some sort of major house explosion. Just had enough. Maybe had enough of doing the podcast. Decided that's it for him. We'll wait. We'll wait together for him to return. In the meantime, here's some sort of hold music.
We're sorry. All of our representatives are still assisting other customers. Please remain on the line as we value your call.
You've just heard from him. We've just had a momentary power cut. So, just, if you could wait, we'll be back soon. Thank you. Rob, you're back. Hello.
Alex, look, I have paid the electricity bill regardless of what the company says. Okay? And I'll see them in court.
Rob, let's finish now on our listener story of the week. Remember, we have nothing against him, but it can't be from Khyber, Rob, because it's unfair.
It is, Alex. You're absolutely right. And this week, as a change from regular programming, this is from Khyber. No, I'm only joking. This is from Face the Strange.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, but I don't want Khyber to get a complex either. But Khyber, maybe you could try submitting your stories under other names. So Roger, Samantha,
Alex,
Darius.
Don't tell people the names that you could use, because then it would be quite obvious if then we have an influx of stories from people called Roger and the other two, Darius and Susan, was it? All I say, Khyber, make it your own names. You know, don't feel you need to listen to us.
Men.
The podcast, obviously, listen to the podcast, just not Alex's name suggestions. I like that.
You flick through the Bible, pick out a name, and submit a story under that.
Just not Jesus. You could, I mean, you know, yeah, Jesus is quite a popular name. Again, Khyber, do what you like.
Rob, but yes.
Sure. Anyway, look, this is from the nationalworld.com.
Don't know what that is.
No, it is, again, a legitimate news source. And the story is by Rowan Shannon from the 3rd of July. And the headline is, Mexican mayor marries alligator, traditional ceremony explained as mayor of San Pedro Cholula weds reptile.
I think I might have seen this. Isn't this... Thank you, Face is Strange, as always. Wasn't this actually not that he was doing it out of love, but more that it is an sort of ancient ritual?
Correct, yeah, that's exactly it, Alex, yeah. You're right.
Just punctured the story there, rather. But
yeah, it's not hardly worth reading it now.
So it's not his alligator wife?
Well, he's married to it.
Do they have sex?
There's There's nothing that I don't think that states that he has to actually, impregnate or consummate the marriage. As far as I'm aware, that would feel like a weird turn. Apparently, the creature's wearing a skirt. Anyway, right. So let's get into the story. Anyway, so Victor Hugo Souza, the mayor of San Pedro, I think it's Himalula, a small town in Mexico, has married a reptile in a traditional ritual believed to bring good luck to his people.
Right.
So he tied the knot with a female caiman, an alligator-like reptile, which can be found in Mexico and Central and South America. Souza and the caiman, called Alicia and Adriana.
She does sound lovely.
Yeah, is it weird to give any sort of animal a first and last name?
Yeah. No, your cat. Aren't your cats called like? Hang on, don't say anything. Let me get this right. I can do this, Rob. Nibbler Davis, Socks Davis.
Dead.
Who's the other one?
Well, Socks is the one that died about 7 years ago, but...
Who's the other one?
And Moo
Davis. I thought they did. Well, they were officially...
Well, I haven't given them name Davis. They're known by their first names. It's usually, if anything, it's the vet's practices that give them the second name.
What did you put on Socks' tombstone?
He doesn't have a tombstone, Alex. He was cremated, thank you very much.
Okay, well then what did you put on the urn?
He doesn't have an urn. It's an animal. He has a box. Wow. Which at the moment, I'm not entirely sure where it is. It's somewhere.
So you can see, for Rob, pets are just throwaway things. It's quite unbelievable, Rob, what you're telling the listeners here. No urn?
No.
God.
No urn. He has a lovely box, and we have a picture of his paw print. So in some ways, that's...
So is there a piece of paper taped to the box that says Socks Davis on the top? Don't touch.
No, it just says Socks. Please do not eat.
And there's a pair of shoes inside.
Yeah.
The listeners do enjoy our tangents. We had lots of cats growing up, so I am just sort of joking with you, but we had a cat called Toby who was a tabby cat, and I remember when he died, it was very upsetting because I noticed that something was very wrong with him as his stomach seemed to be protruding in, like it had some sort of massive collapse. And my parents just kept saying, no, there's nothing wrong with him, and a day later he was dead. But my dad buried him in the back garden, which is a good idea until, of course, foxes dig him up.
Yeah, and this is why we decided not to do that, because as you rightly say, there's nothing wrong, with the remains of a dead cat being scattered across your garden by a ravaging fox. It's quite an image. So apparently the tradition commemorates the peace between the Chontal and Hava indigenous communities, with the mayor representing the Chontal king marrying the reptile, symbolising Hava princess in the union of two communities.
So Rob, let me just say, we're gonna put an end to this story because great, but first of all, this is a comedy podcast. What is funny, Rob, about the ritual of another culture?
Nothing is funny, Alex, apart from the fact that this princess, which celebrates the marriage of these two unions, is represented by a crocodile, whereas the king is a man.
That's just because you don't understand it. I'm sure they would think a lot of our rituals and cultures are strange. For example, the fact that we have a place called Greg's that serves sort of battered pork sausages.
A fine pastry delicatessen, I think you mean, Alex.
Absolutely, it is. And Greg's, if you'd like to offer us some free treats or sponsor us. I feel like if we did have a sponsor, Greg's would be it.
Yeah, it would be. I hate to say, but yeah. Did I tell you what? I was in Newcastle. I went to the original Greg's. Hello.
On that note, we bring this episode of LAPodcast 404 to a close. And we did have a technical issue, Rob, on episode 404. You had a temporary power cut, I believe. A momentary power cut, which this episode will be named after in honour. So 404 did live up to its reputation, Rob, but we soldiered through it. Hopefully there are no other gremlins in the works. That'll be very distressing. We'll be back next week for episode 405. We look very much forward to seeing you all there. Thank you for listening, everybody. We've really enjoyed your company as always. Go to the website, lapodcast.net. If you want to leave us a tip, there's a PayPal button there, or a rolling donation. Whatever you can afford would really help us out. See you next time. God bless.
And keep it local.